140 people signed up. Alan, for a pain in the butt, you've got a lot of friends. I am amazed, you know. Before we start the festivities, though, I do have a couple messages that came in. There's one for Albert Chauffeur. There's some good news and bad news. Where's Albert? Oh, he's right over there. Okay. Albert, the home called and said that you're okay, you can stay up till 8:30.
You don't need to.
But the bad news is you need another diaper. You know, Alan was very, very nervous about this. He called me up the other night late. He was nervous. He kept saying, you know, he emceed my party. We had a good time at my party. He said, I didn't let anybody say anything bad about you. You know, I was good. I didn't say anything. You know, he went on and on. And I finally said, Alan, stop crying. It's not going to help. This is one of these nights, Alan, where you're going to learn a lesson in life, where you had your chance and you blew it. You were nice. You took the high road. Sorry.
Sorry.
Not that sorry. All right, we are going to say a few things nice about Alan, and that won't take too long. All right, Alan works as the town Shellfish constable for 34 years. In fact, I went through the archives and I dug up a picture from 1980. 1980, it was the first time Alan was on Bass River, and he was trying to figure out where he was going to put his first shellfish grant. And here you go, you can keep that, Alan. Got that right out of the historical record. Alan did create most of the rules and regulations, system of growing shellfish and harvesting shellfish. He worked with the Shellfish Commission, the Conservation Commission, and he worked on a lot of the wetlands and estuary program. He established a model commercial grant system and was deeply involved with the Mass Shellfish Organization. When he was involved with the creation of the crabs program, the Commercial Recreation Association for Better Shellfishing, and as a department member, we all took crab names. I was the green crab because I got seasick all the time. Alan, being the constable, he was the king crab. But Alan, I gotta let you know, even before the program, you were the king crab. You've always been the king crab.
Oh, that's nice, Brian.
I used to say, you know, telling Alan to do something was a lot like telling my cat not to scratch the furniture. You know? He'd give you this stare, and then he'd do what he wanted, you know? So, Alan, sometimes you were the epitome of, you know, the saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. But maybe I'm wrong, because not making you drink, that was never a problem. Mary Ann, what are you laughing about? You ever call Mary Ann at 4 o'clock? And if Susan's there, it's 2 o'clock. Oh, that's right, Mary Ann, that's right. You have measured glasses, that's correct. Of course, you have 8 of them, but, you know, they're measured, so... Hey, Swan River Liquors doesn't send me to Aruba every year like you, so... You know, a couple stories before we get to all the speakers. You know, Alan, when I first came to the town in '89, it was one of the first people I met. He brought me over to his house. He gave me some seedlings to plant at my new home. That was amazing. I thought that was fantastic. For 24 years, these trees have grown in my yard, tall, proud. About 5 years ago, when I realized, because I found out, they were the town's seedlings. Thanks, Alan.
And how big are they now?
They're big. They're like 25 feet. So I appreciate it. It was nice. That was very nice of you. You know, one story about Alan I have to tell. We were out on the beach one day. We got a call about rusted fence posts coming up through the sand. And I think, George, you'll remember this because you came down. It was about 10:30 in the morning and you were on your way home for the day. So... You you showed up for 10 minutes to see what we were doing, but Alan, we were digging up these old fence posts, but Alan had this great idea. He said, I'm going to use the winch on the truck. Right? It's a 10-year-old truck. Everything's rusted out. We all looked at Alan and said, don't do it. He gave us that cat, don't scratch the furniture look, hooked it up, and the whole bumper and winch comes off the truck. Now, the thing is jammed. It's going across the sand, wiggling until it ran out of cord. A week later, he had to bring it into the dealership to bring it in to get with the bumper in the back of the truck sticking out. Don't tell Alan what to do. Okay, before we get to the other speakers, I do have to say, Alan, you're a good guy. I had some dark days here at the end, and you're one of the people that really stuck by me, and I'll always remember that, Alan, and I do appreciate it. So, I hope you have a great, great retirement. You're a good guy, and let's bring some other people up here to have some fun. Sure. Can I get Cleon Turner to come up, please?
To be here. As the politician here, though, I have to add, before I talk about this citation for Alan, I have to mention that being a politician here and voting for those 5 nice chowders out there, I voted 1 for each. So. A political vote. In any event. This is a citation, Alan, from the Massachusetts House of Representatives that says, be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincerest congratulations to Alan Marcy in recognition of his retirement as Shellfish Constable after 34 years of service to the town of Dennis. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for future good fortune and continued success in all endeavors. Given this, we don't go by real dates, so this was given on the 2nd day of April, 2013, signed by Robert DeLeo and myself as state representative.
Nice, Alan.
George McDonald.
This is my chance to get Alan.
Yeah.
I won't do it, Alan. Way too easy. Alan and I worked together for 30 years, more than a quarter of a century. It was all good. And now, welcome to the ranks of us retirees. It does take a little getting used to, believe me. I got a big hit TV show about us now. It's called The Walking Dead. Working together was good. It was all good. Ryan mentioned a lot of Alan's achievements, but he did plenty of big projects. The Upwellers, the grants on a Crow's Pasture, C Street Restoration Project, the big one, Bridge Street. You were an officer in Mass Shellfish office, right? Yeah. That, you were on the Water Quality Committee. Yep. When you work for somebody that long, you know, it's either going to be very enjoyable or thoroughly miserable. I assure you it was very enjoyable. So Alan, congratulations and thank you.
Wayne Bergeron.
Board of Selectmen want to recognize Alan, and we initially had an executive session meeting where we were discussing Gold Watch, Gold Cross pens, but we needed the permission of the Finance Committee, so we ended up with a piece of paper and a frame that we had to pay for out of our own pockets. And it says, Certificate of Appreciation. The town of Dennis wishes to thank Alan Marcy in appreciation for 34 years of faithful and dedicated service to the town of Dennis. Alan, you're a remarkable man. Thank you for all you've done for us. And a quick story about Alan. When I was teaching at Dennis Young Recruitment High School, we began the alternative learning program, and we were discussing biology. We got the bivalves, and I said, you know what? Maybe we could do an aquaculture grant. Aquaculture grants weren't happening without it. But Alan made it happen for the program. The state overseeing us, helping us, showing us how to prepare the cages, to do the ground planning and everything now. And it was just a wonderful experience. It was unique in its own way, and the kids learned a ton. And that I never forgot that, Ellen. So thank you personally for what you did, Rob.
Oh, look who we have here. Joan Marcy.
You might have to drop that mic.
Anything I can do to help you?
Take your shirt off. Alan. Quiet, Alan. Where's that Jameson? Oh my God.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
Okay.
Step up to the mic. Step up to the
It's
mic.
too high.
Get it low.
Sit up, everybody. Okay, for those of you who may not know me, my name is Joan Marcy, and I've known Alan for about 35 years, of which the majority of that time we were married. We raised two fabulous children, John and Kara. We were able to attend tonight, driving from Arizona, and Kara came from Maryland. And
What about the other two children?
I'm very happy. We also built two houses together. Now, Alan, I promise that I won't say anything to embarrass, humiliate, or incriminate you. I believe there's a release form for you to sign in the event that any of those do occur. No worries, how much can the ex-wife possibly have to say? When I first met Alan, I was in my 20s. Alan, who had a marine biology background, was in need of a job, and I was the nurse in Boston. Then the time Dennis had an opening for a Shellfish constable, which became a perfect fit. He was hired in 1989, and we married in 79.
70s.
And we married in 81. Once he became a town official, the Shellfish constable, his whole persona changed, and it became very serious. It was all about rules and regulations. And of course, we had to eat more shellfish. Now, where I came from, all we had was 5 clams, period. So a whole new world opened up for me. First, I learned that you can steam the clams. Then, of course, came the quahog, which you can stuff or make chowder out of. And by the way, so I said to Alan, with this whole thing, I said, if there's any quahogs left over, leave me about 2 dozen. I go into my garage, and there's about 200 of them. 30 pounds of quahogs, 200.
40.
So if anybody, 40 pounds? Okay, like 200 quahogs. I wanted 24. Okay? No stress. No stress. All right, so anybody wants to make chowder, let me know. And then next came the scallop. Alright, so I'm like, what do you do now? And Al tells me, well, you pry those open, you scrape away all the clam meat, and you just eat the white muscle. And I'm like,
Scallop meat.
the scallop, the white muscle. And I'm like, okay, they were delicious. Next came the oyster, and I'm like, okay. Alright, they gave me a French oyster shell, and I'm like, what do we do with this? This one you also pry open, and you slice it away from its shell, and you swallow it. And I'm like, raw? Yep. And I'm like, gross. But now I love them. But I think the best one was when it came home with this raka, and much bigger than this. And I'm like, what the hell is that? Well, that's a sea clam. Well, what am I supposed to do with that? You make a pie. And I'm like, a pie? Like a cherry pie with clam guts? Yep. And so I did. Gross. And then, of course, there were the mussels, the cherry stones, and of course, all the losses. Over the last 25 years, I've had several nicknames for Al. Of course, the first one starts with Honey Bunny. Then the next one was Wood Cleaver. And then the third one was Ranger Rick. So we built 2 houses together, which in the town of Dennis can be very challenging, especially in the historical society, watching every move you make. What's our house? Okay. And the roof? Okay. The color? Okay. And there's the doorbell ring a chime. So when it came came time to put a little shed in our backyard. Alan insisted we go in front of the Hysterical Society. And I'm like, Alan, I can't go through that again. Now, Joan, it's all about rules and regulations. And I'm like, obviously, the shed never got up. Thank you, Ward. I understand. But Alan loved his job. He barely missed a day of work. He was always the first one available for any whale, sea turtle, or human stranding rescue. When unfortunate souls who weren't paying attention to the tide and finally found themselves surrounded by water in need of a rescue. And then there was a time I went to the basement to do laundry, only to have these 4 eyes staring at me. Oh my gosh! 2 huge frozen sea turtles defrosting in our basement. Of course, I bonded with them, only to have them removed and returned to the ocean. It was like having foster children removed. I think that's when we decided to start our family. Thank you, Major Rick. For years I watched Alan put on his green uniform and become so very official. He always put his badge on, followed by his Dennis Natural Resource pin, DNR, and of course his black tool belt, which held all the necessities of the day, such as the walkie-talkie, the tire gauge, and the clam ring, because of course size matters. Remind him to wear this white t-shirt underneath that proudly displayed the symbols for Dennis Natural Resources. Now, in my world of medicine, DNR means do not resuscitate. Stern, loving, devoted father for both John and Karen, and whom and when he wasn't out rescuing whales and humans or finding people for uninflated tires, he was in the role of Mr. Mom on his days off while I was in Boston. He got very involved in the Boy Scouts with John and became one of the leaders. There were the parades, the overnight camping trips, and of course, the Pine Derby. A highly competitive race with little wooden cars carved from a block of wood. He and John would spend hours working on the car, carving, painting, designing, and of course the decals. And then the much anticipated day of the race came. And the first thing I noticed that all the cars were these plain carved wooden cars with nickels and quarters strategically placed on the car and around the wheels. Those cars were fast. And then the race began. We would watch them zoom around the track to the finish line. And then John and Alan's car would finally reach the finish line, and as it crossed in such style and fashion. But Alan was as equally attentive to his son as he is to his daughter. Well, now you learn as a parent, everything is 50-50. You know, if I talk 50% about John, I have to talk 50% about Kara. Now, he would be taking Kara to all her activities, such as helping her head get just right for one of the dance recital I wasn't able to attend. From Alan, Kara learned the ways of lobster trapping and helping on many of his excursions, but she also learned the ways of harvesting shellfish and is now involved in oyster farming. She has a lot to be grateful for. So Alan, good for you. Job well done on many fronts. It is now your time. This is your time. Enjoy it.
John, Kara, and Joni, they got together and decided it was time to replace Alan's rather long in the tooth, shall we say, Archie bunker chair. So I volunteered to help Joni to pick it up at the store and bring it in, brought it in. I was all excited. We got up there, brought the old one down. A couple weeks later, I see Alan, sorry. Over at Chapin's, and I was all excited, and I said, "Oh, Alan, how do you like your new chair?" And he said to me, "It's great, except for one thing." I was like, "What's that?" He said, "When I come home for lunch, I can't fit in the new chair. I have to take my tool belt off." So I'm like, "Okay." So again, size matters, I guess. But so I decided that in honor of this, and in proportion with Alan himself, we decided to downsize this tool belt. So here you go, Alan.
I take it that was awesome. Peter. Now, please come up.
This you gotta get on tape.
That's unbelievable.
Alan, I'm somewhat of a disadvantage. I haven't worked with you, but I think we've done business together from just about every kind of way. And I can tell you, as you can tell, I don't necessarily throw things away, but I would like to share with you what are the chances of getting my money back.
The $3.
Actually, Alan, over the years of buying the shellfish permits from you, you tried, but you never was able to sell me a senior license permit even when I was qualified. There's one other permit I haven't bought. Since you retired, I haven't bought one for this year. Alan, I'll tell you, we've had experiences in many ways. I know as a member of the Finance Committee, I really saw you perform extremely well when I was questioning a $5,000 expenditure to bring contaminated clams from Bristol County polluted grounds to Bass River. And I'll tell you, I was very impressed because it was postponed and Alan brought in, I think, the Director of Marine Fisheries. Was he a friend of yours?
Mike Hickey.
Was it the last gentleman that just left?
No, Mike Hickey, he's here. So.
But Mike Hickey, that's right. Mike Hickey explained the reason and actually put me very much comfortable in learning about the shellfish and why it was a benefit and a correct thing to have happen in Bass River. It was quite interesting because I know from a different standpoint and coming to admire your performance as a shellfish warden was a time when you got involved when there was an issue between the commercial shellfish draggers in coming in very close to shore. And you asked me and we had a communication and I was able to call you when they came in right near the shores, and all of a sudden, I don't know what you and your group did, but all of a sudden they didn't come in anymore. Alan, I do have to tell you, just as a person, in fact, even one time when you really performed, it was in your own behalf, and that is where someone got the notion at town meeting they were going to eliminate your position. That was a few years back, and I can tell you, Alan rose to the occasion. As you can see, he's still here. He tried to eliminate the budget for his position. Alan had put the things together in an open town meeting and prevailed. And I can tell you, Alan, you have a tremendous amount of respect from me for that. I would like to tell you, though, frankly, Alan, just as a citizen of Dennis, one more thing that I was able to, just to let you know that everyone coming to the microphone are not true princes of virtue. You're looking at someone that might have missed the mark one time. This was years ago, probably a little more than 2 decades ago. We happened to be out in my Penyan boat off of Prospect Path, and we got into a pretty good stand of clams. I had my children, they were smaller, and we got in and we were tossing clams in the boat, and they kept coming and kept coming. And of course, there is a very rigid rule that Alan had, consistent with regulations, that a license allowed you in a haul to get I think it was a sea clam, a certain bucket size of clams. My memory is somewhat faulty since a number of years, but I think we had a few extras. As we began to pull out, and there was quite a few in the boat, someone said, "I think I see up there at the street there's been a shellfish truck watching us." I'll tell you, there was no way in hell I wanted to face Alan with the size that we could have had in my boat. On the way to the harbor, I happened to swing into the house and we emptied the boat. Typical Alan, sure as hell, when my son took my boat back, he was waiting there and he found an empty boat. I never ever gave him another chance to double check doing that again. Alan, as a citizen of Dennis, in the roles I played, I want to thank you so much for the years of service. I'll tell you, Dennis is very rich to have you aboard. Thank you so much.
We have a representative from MSOA, please, from Mass Shellfish Officers Association.
Hi, I don't know a lot of you. I know a few of you. I come from Edgartown. I'm Alan's counterpart over there. And I think I was going to tell you some stories about the convention. But I think what happens on the North Shore stays on the North Shore. I've got your kids here, so. But one thing you should know is MSOA reaches out to all the coastal communities, from Ipswich down to Westport. And Alan was there from virtually the inception, ever since I served on the board of directors, and doing the hard work of the treasurer and the secretary, putting the meetings together. So I think it's important for a bunch of you local folks to know that Alan really was known statewide for the work he did, and really helped get MSOA off the ground. And it wouldn't be the organization that it is today without his hard work. We're going to embarrass him with a plaque at one of our meetings, so tonight we got nothing for you. Have a round of applause and a job well done.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much for attending this fundraiser retirement for Alan. He is so deserving of the recognition, not only for his length of service, but especially what he went through to get here. Alan, you're lucky you're standing here instead of beneath us. You know what I mean. He's a special guy that I worked with for 20 years. A guy who I love, along with all the others who spent years in the DNR Conservation Office. It was a time when we all worked well together with the townspeople, fellow departments, co-workers, even the powers that be. Gone are those days of baby picture contests, weight loss challenges, outside barbecues, and Hawaiian luau's on the beach. And these were not just for employees. They included the town administrator, the select people, various committee volunteers, anyone and everyone that wanted to attend. Oh well, life goes on with a different kind of town and a very different kind of working environment. So Alan, I'm really happy for you. Not only did you make it through, you made it with your head held high for all your accomplishments. And with a department previously that created programs for both the young and the old, as shown on all your posters in the other room. And for that, we thank you, and I love you. Good fun.
Nice, Marianne.
Thank you.
Steve Beatty.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
Oh, Steve Beatty. Oh, good. Come on, Steve.
Thank you. I'm going to turn back the Wayback Machine here for a minute. I met Alan in 1966 when he applied to be a bagger, a stock boy at my parents' grocery store, State Back Market, which is now the Tedeschi's on the corner of 134 and 6A. And Alan was a great bagger, and he was great with the customers. But it wasn't his #1 career, okay? He eventually found his niche. But during those days of the 60s, 1968, all the guys who worked at the State Back Market, we rented this house called Cobweb. It was Winslow Cobb's house up on Setauket Road. And our friend Bert had a 1957 Chevy. And we would take that 57 Chevy and we would go cruising. We would go cruising. We'd go cruising down Snatch Alley. Yeah, we would. And we'd roll up on these girls, and we would tell them, "Hey, you want to go for a ride? I'll take a ride." It was a different time, obviously. So we used to tell these girls these stories about the Hermit of Scargo Tower. The Hermit of Scargo Tower was a dangerous felon. He escaped from the mental hospital. Well, we would go up there, we'd tell these girls from Worcester broads, there's one here. She spoke earlier, so now she can't get me. But she wasn't in on this story, okay? But we would go up and we would take these people up to the top of Scargo Tower. We'd get them all scared about the Hermit of Scargo Tower. One time we had Alan in a cape with a rubber knife between his teeth, hanging over the side of Scargo Tower. We get these girls, and over the top of Scargo Tower comes Alan Marcy. The girls all hugged us, scared out of their wits. We took him back to the Cobweb. Well, the rest is as they say. Alan, you're just a terrific friend, and I know you had a terrific career here and did a lot of good for a lot of people and saved a lot of mammals and did a lot of good for a lot of people in the natural environment of Cape Cod, and I salute you and thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who has something to say?
Yeah. For hours.
Come on up.
Carol, like your shoes.
As many of you probably know, I'm Kara. I'm Alan's daughter, and this is John, his son. We've known Alan our entire lives. I just wanted to tell a little funny story. I try to keep it oriented towards his career as a shellfish constable. I have a lot of embarrassing stories about Dad, but they're mostly not shellfish constable related. But I just thought it was funny because a lot of people who came up earlier were talking about what a great law-abiding, good worker he was and all that stuff. And I just remember being a kid, he always had the truck, the giant, shellfish constable truck, parked in our driveway, and he would, it was for town use only kind of thing, whatever. And he used to give me rides, all the time, probably during his work hours, to the theater, to the school, to whatever. And I just remember this one time in particular, we'd always kid around, he's like, Carrie, you're not allowed to be in this truck, so play it cool, don't tell anybody you're in it. I remember whenever we pulled up to that huge intersection over by the Stop and Shop, he'd always be like, okay, get down. And I'd be like, get down. We're over by the Stop and Shop, and he gets a call. And there's like this rabid raccoon by the Stop and Shop, and since he's so close, he's like, I gotta go take this. So Carrie, I have to get down. I literally, for like a half an hour, he's like wrangling this raccoon. I am sitting in the front seat by the front area of his car, just like hanging out. I'm like, Dad, I'm late for like theater practice or whatever. And it's just like, and there's this rabid raccoon like chilling in the back seat of the truck. He drives me off to the HAT, and that was great. Yeah. And another story about Dad in the truck was when I was 16. I just got my driver's permit, and I was really excited, and he, I don't know, because I was a little bit older or whatever, he wasn't always willing to give me a ride like he was when I was younger, and so I took my brand new 1986, not brand new to me car, and I drove to the theater. I drove to work illegally with my driver's permit. And I remember I was at work, I was like doing something, I don't know, like with a hammer or whatever, and like one of my coworkers comes up and she's like, Kara, there's like a police officer out front, and he's asking for you, and he seems really angry. And I was like, oh shit, my dad called the police. Sorry. What kind of dad does that? And then so I get out front, and it's him in his green uniform. And I'm like, green uniform? Come on, that's not the police. Who thinks that? So I get out there with his little red face and his little mustache.
About the rules and regulations.
So what I learned about that was that he can break the rules, but I can't. I really appreciate it.
All right, my turn. So I'm John. I'm Alan's son, and I've also known him my entire life. He's been the natural resource officer of Dennis, and for, I don't even know, maybe 50 years. Seems like a long time. I'm going to digress for a second. Growing up as a natural resource officer's son has huge benefits. I can go to the beach and have a bonfire. Someone else comes up and asks me questions. You're Alan's boy. It's okay. I can be chilling on the beach with some friends, maybe have a beer. Only recently, not when I was younger. And again, the natural resource officer comes up, it's like, oh, it's okay, you're Alan's boy. Another car, incident. Yeah, you remember that too. I was actually driving my grandfather's car, and I was my learner's permit. I was only 16. I'm not supposed to have anybody in the car with me. I actually forgot my learner's permit, I think, at his house. So we're on the way to go get the car, and I had my sister with me, and I get pulled over for speeding. So of course I was like, I pulled you over. I'm like, no, I have no ID. I'm only 16. And he's like, well, you're going 54 and a 45. I'm like, all right, thanks, guy. And he's like, what's your name? I'm like, John Marcy. He's like, you have your license on you to prove that? I'm like, no, I know. He's like, oh, sorry, you're Alan's boy. Don't worry about it. I'll let you go this time. Just make sure you tell your father, because I'm going to tell him if you don't. Of course, I'm 16, and I'm not going to tell my father I just got pulled over. So I'm crossing my fingers, and of course, Dennis police told the guy, and I got in trouble for it later. That's beside the point. But I digress. That's neither here nor there. We're talking about my father, not about my past life. So, we all know that he's been a natural resource officer, and growing up with him, I knew that if he was not a natural resource officer, which is hard to imagine, I know what he would have been. He would have been a teacher, probably like a 9th grade science teacher, because we can see the science fair that's in the other room over there. This man loves to lecture and loves to teach. I mean, you come home, and I come home, and I'm like, oh God, I'm tired. I just want to know what's 2 plus 2. Like, I don't know the answer. Just please give me the answer quick. Thank you. And he would digress, and he would analyze that question and break it down for you. What is the number 2? What is addition? There's never an easy answer when it comes to him. A 10-second answer would turn into 10 minutes. When I was a kid, I was notorious for always bringing home projects at the last possible second. Sunday night, I have a project due Monday. We stay up till 2 a.m. working on a project. I mean, this one time I had I think it was like a 7th grade project we had to each pick a European country to do a project on. We had to build a suitcase, bring it into class. I sprang on in very last second, and we ended up building this extremely professional map board with hinges, suitcase. And I had actually come home the next day with a note from my professor saying, you know, did John actually contribute to making this at all? That good at the suitcase. People come in with cardboard boxes with a lid cut off. I had hinges on mine. And the handle, the thing was professionally made. The guy didn't believe it, and of course he signed it because he's a great dad. But yeah,
you will.
I like held up, you know, a hammer. I gave him nails. That's all I did. I got away with one there. But the point is that no matter what project I came home with, he loved doing this stuff. He loved lecturing. He loved being the one helping you create these masterpieces at 2 a.m. on a Sunday night. The reason he loves doing that is because he's a great teacher, but also because he's a great father. He's going to be there for us, and we love you and we wish you luck on your
Marcy. Hi all. Hi. First of all, you know, this is...
You got 5 minutes.
I want to get back to drinking too, so... Now, the first thing I really like to do is to thank you all for coming here, because it's my retirement, yes, but it was just an event, an opportunity for us to then go out and contribute to add to the Town of Dennis seed population seeding program, which is something that I sort of started. I mean, that was why I was hired by the Town of Dennis initially, was to do agriculture and grow cohogs. And I took it beyond cohogs, obviously. But that is why I was hired by the Town of Dennis, because I had some experience in using from Agricultural Research Corporation. And so, yeah, I mean, it is a great thing that we can now turn around and take this event and this monies that we're going to get here tonight and then give it back to the town and have them continue with the programs that we all started. I'd like to start off pretty much by saying, I mean, this is my children here talking to me about my time and stuff like that. Well, I'm going to turn it right around and talk about my father, who's sitting over here and stuff like that, and I just want to thank them. I'm going to start a little bit by starting with the conversation of when I first came to Cape Cod. A lot of people probably know or probably don't know, but I grew up on Cold Storage Beach in Bateman Cottage. Where's Warren? He's out there somewhere. There he, okay. The Bateman Cottages and the Cobb Cottages down on Cold Storage Beach. These are beautiful old cottages. They're not there anymore. They're now mega mansions, but we don't want to talk about that. But the point being is, when I was a little kid, we would come up here in summer on Cape Cod, and that is what eventually actually turned my life into the interests that I have. Because I love being on Cape Cod, I love being on Cold Storage Beach, I love being out at Crow's Pasture. Seward Harbor was like a minute and a half away from walking, a minute and a half away from where I grew up. But to get to Cape Cod, we were living in New York, and of course, it's almost an 8-hour drive up. So I have 4 sisters, and we load up 4 sisters and me and Mom and Dad in the car and load that stuff up, and we drive up to the Cape, and you know what we drive. Hi, John. And you know what it's like driving all that distance with a bunch of bratty little kids like we were. But anyway, my father used to do fun things and that kind of stuff, and one of the ones that he always used to do with me was they'd play mathematical games. Now, the mathematical game was always a question. It says, when is it that you are going to be half the age that I am? When are you going to be half the age that I am? And you have to sort of sit there and mathematically calculate how old you were and how old he was, and then try to... The fun part about that is it's come to my realization, and this is kind of what I'm getting to here, is I've worked for half of my life for the town of Dennis. So never mind, but that's really kind of an interesting thought. So half of my life I've spent here being the Shellfish Constable for the town of Dennis, and I love my job. I mean, it is probably one of the most diverse and most interesting positions that you can be in, because you're out there in the environment, and the environment always changes. You're working with live animals, and anytime you work with live animals, and I've worked with live animals all my life, they also, well, have a mind of their own. And so the diversity of the job itself was just so wonderful. And the environment here in Dennis is also so wonderful that the whole thing just kind of really culminated to being just an absolutely perfect fit for me. And I've really had a great time here at the town of Dennis, and I'm very much in love with this town, and I'm planning on staying. I'm not going anywhere. I got a few more plans out there too. So, but that's not the only thing that all this kind of stuff, and it's just a wonder to have you all here. But another thing my father taught me when I took this job, he told me one set of advice. He says, "Alan, you're going to be wearing a badge, and anytime you wear a badge, if you don't have somebody mad at you, then you're probably not doing your job." So I'm so glad that I have all of you here, because obviously I must have done something on the good side too, because I don't see the guys that are mad at me here or anything like that. So, but for that, I really do again appreciate you all coming. It is in all, I hope, going to be a good event for the town, and I hope they use the funds wisely as we continue the seed programs in the town of Dennis and continue with the Shellfish. In closing, I just have one thing to say, and this is sort of a little off the wall from anything anybody else has probably heard, but I do have a little pet project that I'm thinking about seriously, and most all of you are probably very much aware of it. We have a beach in the north side of Dennis, Chapin Beach, which needs our support. So I ask you all to help save Chapin Beach, and there'll be more to come on that note. Thank you.
Tokens of appreciation.